humanity had stood as a symbol of unlikely triumph for 3,000 years within the Galactic Council, a body where ancient civilizations had dictated galactic affairs for millennia. Once dismissed as a backwater species, humanity's rapid advancements in subspace technology, bioengineering, and interstellar diplomacy earned them a place among the galactic elite. Their meteoric rise, however, was not without resentment. Whispers of discontent echoed in the council chambers. Some species envied humanity's adaptability, others feared it. Ambassador Elias Vance felt the tension as he entered the council's grand hall on Arbitron Prime. The crystalline walls shimmered with refracted light, a display meant to signify transparency and unity. But today, that unity was fraying. The hall, usually filled with measured debates, buzzed with unease. Delegates from the Ethexian Union, towering figures with scales like molten metal, glared at Vance as he ascended the central podium. "We have always upheld the principles of peace," Vance began, his voice calm yet firm. "Humanity seeks not domination but coexistence. Let us not allow fear to dictate our future." The chamber erupted into murmurs before a sharp voice cut through. Councillor Thranus of the Ultron Dominion rose, his 3 glowing eyes fixed on Vance. "Coexistence?" he sneered. "Then explain the evidence we have uncovered, evidence that humanity has been developing subspace leviathans in violation of the Xenian Pact." A hologram materialized above the council table. It showed monstrous biomechanical constructs, their forms pulsating with energy capable of tearing star systems apart. The image froze, zooming in on a faint human insignia etched onto their metallic skin. Gasps filled the chamber. Vance's composure remained intact, but his mind raced. This was impossible. Humanity had no such technology. "This is a fabrication," Vance declared. "Humanity has never engaged in such grotesque experiments. Our research is public and aligns strictly with council regulations." Councillor Thranus raised a hand, silencing the room. "Fabrication or not, the evidence speaks for itself. Humanity's unchecked ambition has made you a threat to galactic stability. This body cannot ignore the risk you pose." Delegates murmured their agreement, and Vance felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. He knew the council's decision had been made long before this meeting. The evidence was merely a formality. Despite his protests, the vote proceeded swiftly. Humanity was declared a rogue species, outvoted by an overwhelming majority. Only the Vernic Collective abstained, their representatives exchanging wary glances with Vance as the declaration was finalized. As the session ended, Vance made his way back to the human delegation's quarters. The corridors of Arbitron Prime, once welcoming, now felt hostile. Alien envoys avoided eye contact, their whispers trailing behind him. In the privacy of his chamber, he activated a secure line to Earth. "Madam President," Vance said gravely, his image flickering before President Leona Armitage. Her expression mirrored his concern. "The Council has declared war. They believe we're developing subspace weapons." Armitage's voice was steady, though her fists clenched on the desk before her. "We have nothing of the sort. This is a pretext, a justification for the envy and fear they've harbored for centuries." Before Vance could respond, the line crackled. A secondary feed cut in, displaying a scene of devastation, the colony at Alpha Centauri, engulfed in flames. Council ships loomed in the background, their weapons raining destruction on humanity's most prosperous outpost. "They've already begun," Armitage whispered. Her tone shifted, steel replacing shock. "We have no choice but to defend ourselves. Initiate wartime protocols. Humanity will not fall silently." As Vance ended the transmission, the reality of their isolation sank in. Humanity, once celebrated for its adaptability, was now a target for annihilation. Across the galaxy, Council fleets moved with coordinated precision, cutting off human colonies and deploying a mysterious signal disruptor that severed humanity's faster-than-light communication network. Planets that had thrived under the protection of Earth's fleets were now vulnerable, their populations left to face annihilation. On Earth, the Global Defense Council convened in a secure underground facility. Strategists, scientists, and military leaders debated humanity's next steps. Some advocated retreating to the Sol system, fortifying Earth as an impregnable bastion. Others pushed for immediate counterattacks, arguing that striking now was humanity's only chance to survive. Amid the heated arguments, a report arrived from Titan, where humanity's brightest scientists had been working on decoding intercepted Council transmissions. The preliminary findings were shocking. The evidence presented to the Council had been doctored. Embedded within the data streams were markers suggesting it originated not from Earth but from a hidden faction within the Council itself. Silent Accord, muttered Dr. Elena Merrick, head of the Titan research team. A name mentioned repeatedly in these files. Whoever they are, they've orchestrated this war from the shadows. The discovery offered a glimmer of hope but also deepened the mystery. Why frame humanity? And why now, after 3,000 years of peace? The answers were elusive, but one thing was clear: this war was not about subspace weapons or genetic experiments. It was about control. As humanity's fleets mobilized, Vance addressed the people of Earth in a broadcast that reached the remaining colonies. His voice carried the weight of history and determination. They have declared us an existential threat, but it is not our ambition they fear, it is our resilience. We will fight not just for survival but for the truth. Let them come. Humanity will endure. The silence in the war room on Earth was broken only by the hum of a holographic display, its blue glow casting long shadows on the faces of humanity's most brilliant minds. President Leona Armitage stood at the head of the table, watching as Dr. Elena Merrick brought up the decrypted data from Titan. It was a web of connections, fragmented transmissions, and encoded files, a labyrinth of information that hinted at something far darker than a mere Council conspiracy. "This is no rogue accusation," Merrick began, her voice measured but heavy with urgency. "The evidence against us wasn't just fabricated, it was deliberately planted to incite war. These fragments point to a faction within the Galactic Council calling themselves the Silent Accord. They operate outside Council protocols, and their influence runs deep." The room stiffened. Admiral Geraint, a seasoned military strategist, leaned forward. "If they're manipulating the Council, their endgame isn't just war. What do they want?" Merrick gestured to a series of glyphs projected on the screen. "We believe it's about control. Humanity's rapid ascent has destabilized the delicate balance of power. But it's more than political, they're targeting our potential. Genetic markers in our species, likely from precursor interference, suggest that humanity might hold the key to unlocking a universal evolutionary code." "Precursor interference?" Armitage asked, her brow furrowing. Merrick nodded. "The architects, an ancient civilization long extinct, seeded numerous species across the galaxy. Humanity appears to be one of their projects. Our genetic code contains latent sequences that, if activated, could catalyze unprecedented cognitive and physiological evolution. It's likely the Silent Accord fears this potential." The revelation sent ripples through the room. The idea that humanity's conflict was rooted in ancient meddling, that their rise was not entirely their own, was both humbling and infuriating. But the implications were clear. Humanity wasn't being attacked for what it had done but for what it could become. "This changes nothing," Admiral Geraint said, his voice cutting through the tension. "Potential or not, they've declared war on us. The Council fleets are already moving against our colonies. We need action, not theories." But Vance, now returned to Earth after his diplomatic failure, raised a hand. "Action without understanding is recklessness, Admiral. If the Silent Accord is pulling the strings, we need to expose them. Humanity can't fight the entire Council and win, not without allies." The mention of allies drew murmurs of dissent. The Council had made an example of the Vernic Collective, humanity's only vocal supporter, by stripping their trade privileges. Other species would be reluctant to risk similar punishment. "Not all alliances are built on shared ideals," Vance continued. "We've been isolated diplomatically, but if we can prove the Silent Accord's existence and their manipulation of the Council, we might convince other factions to act, not out of loyalty to us, but out of self-preservation." The argument was persuasive, and a plan began to take shape. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its adaptability, its ability to leverage limited resources to achieve outsized results. While the fleet prepared to defend critical systems, a team of scientists and intelligence operatives was tasked with uncovering actionable proof of the Silent Accord's machinations. It was a dangerous mission, requiring infiltration of Council-controlled territories and access to restricted data repositories. Meanwhile, on Titan, Dr. Merrick's team worked tirelessly to decode the next layer of the Silent Accord's transmissions. What they found deepened the conspiracy. The Silent Accord wasn't just targeting humanity. They had engineered crises on other worlds, economic collapses, resource shortages, even plagues, all to maintain control over potential threats to their dominion. But the most chilling discovery was buried in encrypted files marked with architect symbols. The Silent Accord had been experimenting with humanity's genetic code, using captured samples from outlying colonies. The experiments aimed to activate the evolutionary key artificially, testing its effects on controlled subjects. The results were catastrophic. Those subjected to the process either died in agony or were transformed into something unrecognizable, beings of heightened awareness but fractured identity, their minds lost in a torrent of overwhelming stimuli. "They're not just afraid of our evolution," Merrick said grimly. "They're trying to weaponize it." As the implications sank in, President Armitage convened a secret meeting with Vance and Dr. Serena Kai, one of humanity's foremost experts in genetic engineering. Kai was a controversial figure, known for pushing ethical boundaries in her research, but her insights were invaluable. "If this evolutionary key exists, can we activate it on our terms?" Armitage asked. Kai hesitated. "Possibly. But it's not without risks. The Silent Accord's experiments failed because they lacked understanding. We would be working with the same limited knowledge, and the consequences could be irreversible." Vance spoke up. "We need every advantage. If this key could help us survive..." Armitage cut him off. "Survival means nothing if it costs us our humanity. We won't become the monsters they fear us to be. Not unless we have no other choice." The decision was tabled, but the tension remained. As humanity's fleets clashed with Council forces across contested systems, the Silent Accord's shadow loomed larger. The intercepted transmissions revealed that the Silent Accord had anticipated humanity's resilience. They were counting on it. The war wasn't meant to destroy humanity outright, it was a test. A trial to see if humanity's ambition could be contained or if they would rise to claim the evolutionary mantle. "They've underestimated us," Vance said during a strategy meeting. "They think this is a game they can control. But if there's one thing humanity excels at, it's rewriting the rules." And so, the fight continued on two fronts: the physical battle for survival against overwhelming odds, and the intellectual battle to uncover the truth and expose the Silent Accord. Each victory came at a cost: colonies lost, lives sacrificed, but humanity's resolve never wavered. The final breakthrough came from a daring infiltration mission led by a covert team of human operatives. They accessed a hidden Council data vault on the planet Nithara, retrieving files that confirmed the Silent Accord's plans. The files also contained a chilling warning: the Silent Accord was preparing to unleash an experimental fleet of subspace leviathans, biomechanical monstrosities designed to enforce their rule through terror. Humanity now faced an impossible choice: continue fighting a defensive war that would eventually bleed them dry, or take the offensive, risking everything to expose the Silent Accord and rally the galaxy against them. President Armitage addressed the Global Defense Council one last time before the decision was made. "We've endured the unthinkable and uncovered truths that shake the foundations of our existence. But we stand here today not because of what we are but because of who we choose to be. The galaxy has underestimated us. Let's show them why that was their greatest mistake." The war had shifted from survival to strategy, from desperation to determination. Humanity, battered but unbroken, began to demonstrate why it had earned its place among the stars. While the Galactic Council relied on overwhelming numbers and predictable tactics, humanity's ingenuity, adaptability, and relentless pursuit of progress turned the tide. Across contested systems, human fleets engaged in a new kind of warfare: guerrilla strikes, ambushes, and unconventional tactics that exploited the rigidity of Council protocols. At Vega Drift, a strategic choke point, Admiral Geraint led a bold operation using decoy ships rigged with quantum jammers. The Council fleet, expecting a traditional engagement, found its systems overwhelmed by cascading disruptions. Human vessels, smaller and more maneuverable, struck from blind spots, crippling the larger enemy warships. The battle ended with a decisive human victory, but Geraint knew it was only the beginning. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Council debated their next move. The intel recovered from the Silent Accords files had revealed more than just their existence. It confirmed their plan to unleash subspace leviathans, monstrosities capable of consuming entire systems. Humanity had to act quickly, but internal divisions threatened to undermine their efforts. The Earth Concordance, led by President Armitage, advocated a defensive strategy focused on proving humanity's innocence. They believed exposing the Silent Accords' manipulations to the galaxy would rally other factions to their side. But the Outer Reach Coalition, representing colonies that had suffered the brunt of the Council's attacks, demanded retaliation. They argued that humanity's survival depended on dismantling the Council's power structures entirely. "Every day we hesitate, more colonies burn," argued Coalition leader Kaylin Merrick in a tense session. "We can't afford to wait for the galaxy's sympathy. We strike first, and we strike hard." Armitage countered, her voice calm but firm. "If we act without evidence, we become the aggressors they already claim us to be. This war isn't just about survival, it's about who we are. Humanity doesn't win by becoming what they fear." The debate was interrupted by news from Titan. Dr. Merrick's team had successfully decoded the Leviathan control signals, tracing them to a hidden Dyson sphere in the Veil Nebula. The sphere was a fortress, its defenses impenetrable to a direct assault. However, the data also contained a blueprint for the Leviathans themselves. Dr. Serena Kai, now fully immersed in her research on the evolutionary key, saw an opportunity. "These Leviathans are biomechanical constructs," she explained in a briefing. "They're designed to operate in subspace, but their neural architecture is crude, primitive compared to what we could achieve with the key. If we can hijack their control signal, we can turn their weapons against them." The proposal was met with immediate controversy. Hijacking the Leviathans required interfacing with their neural network, a process that would involve activating the evolutionary key. The risks were monumental. The test subjects from earlier experiments had already demonstrated the potential for catastrophic failure, and now Kai was suggesting deploying the key on a galactic scale. "This isn't just a gamble," Admiral Geraint argued. "It's a leap into the unknown. We don't even fully understand the key's effects. What if we lose control? What if the Leviathans turn on us instead?" Kai's response was resolute. "The Silent Accord is betting on our fear of the unknown. If we don't take this step, we're fighting an enemy we can't defeat. But if we succeed, we'll not only stop the Leviathans, we'll prove that humanity's potential is greater than they ever imagined." With time running out, the decision was made. While the fleet prepared for a diversionary assault on the Dyson sphere, a small team led by Kai and Vance would infiltrate its control hub. Their objective was twofold: disable the Leviathan production line and broadcast proof of the Silent Accords' manipulations to the galaxy. As the mission began, humanity's fleets engaged the Council forces guarding the Veil Nebula. The battles were fierce, with every human ship pushed to its limit. AI-driven fleets coordinated strikes with terrifying precision, using predictive algorithms to anticipate the Council's moves. Pilots linked through neural interfaces executed maneuvers that would have been impossible for conventional forces. For every ship lost, 2 more Council vessels fell, but the cost was high. Human casualties mounted, and morale wavered. Inside the Dyson sphere, Vance and Kai led their team through a labyrinth of corridors, each one alive with pulsing energy. The Leviathans were being constructed in vast chambers, their biomechanical forms suspended in subspace fields. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a testament to the Silent Accords' ambition and cruelty. As they reached the control hub, Kai initiated the process to hijack the Leviathan network. The evolutionary key was activated, its signals pulsing through the Dyson sphere's systems. For a moment, it seemed to work. The Leviathans halted their movements, their neural networks synchronized with the human signal. But then the unexpected happened. The key began to interact with the Dyson sphere itself, awakening dormant systems left behind by the architects. Kai, her mind linked to the network, glimpsed fragments of their knowledge, visions of a galaxy shaped by their design, where species like humanity were intended to rise and guide the future. But the visions came with a price. Kai's neural link began to overload, and the team scrambled to stabilize the system. "I can hold it," Kai said through gritted teeth, her voice strained. "Just a few more seconds." The Leviathans, now fully under human control, turned against the Council fleets. The tide of the battle shifted as the monstrous constructs tore through enemy ships with devastating efficiency. Humanity's forces pushed forward, reaching the Dyson sphere and disabling its defenses. As the battle ended, Kai severed her connection to the network, collapsing from the strain. The broadcast was sent, exposing the Silent Accord's treachery and rallying other factions to humanity's side. But the activation of the evolutionary key had left its mark. Kai's mind had expanded beyond human comprehension, her consciousness forever changed. She had glimpsed humanity's potential, and its peril. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the mission brought both triumph and uncertainty. The Council was fractured, its power diminished, but the evolutionary key had awakened something within humanity that could not be undone. President Armitage addressed the people in a solemn broadcast. "We have survived the unthinkable and proven that humanity's spirit cannot be broken. But survival is not enough. We face a new future, one shaped not just by what we are, but by what we choose to become. Let us choose wisely." The galaxy was in chaos. The Silent Accord's final gambit, the unleashed Leviathans, had thrown the Galactic Council into disarray. Entire systems had gone dark, their stars eclipsed by the biomechanical monstrosities tearing through planetary defenses. For humanity, it was a vindication of their warnings but also an existential threat. The Leviathans did not discriminate. They destroyed everything in their path, proving that the Silent Accord's ambitions had spiraled out of control. On the surface of Earth, the remnants of humanity's leadership gathered to finalize their plans. President Armitage stood at the head of the war table, her expression resolute despite the dire circumstances. Dr. Serena Kai, though visibly strained from her previous ordeal with the evolutionary key, presented the last fragments of data retrieved from the Dyson sphere. The Leviathan's neural network was still vulnerable to human intervention, but the window for action was rapidly closing. "The Silent Accord thought they could control the Leviathans," Kai said, her voice steadier than her appearance suggested. "But their arrogance has undone them. These creatures are no longer following programmed commands, they're operating on emergent behaviors, patterns even the Accord didn't foresee." Admiral Geraint's voice was grim. "Then we're not just fighting the Council anymore. We're fighting their mistakes. What's the strategy?" Kai hesitated before responding. "The key. It worked before, but only partially. If we amplify its output, if we connect humanity's collective consciousness directly to the Leviathan network, we might be able to shut them down. Permanently." The room fell silent. The evolutionary key had already pushed humanity to its limits, leaving scars on the minds of those who had interacted with it. The idea of amplifying its effects was a gamble that could either save the galaxy or unravel humanity itself. Commander Elias Vance, who had fought relentlessly to balance humanity's survival with its principles, spoke at last. "We've always defined ourselves by the impossible. We've faced extinction more times than any species should, and we've endured because we refused to compromise our identity. But now we're at a crossroads. If we use this key, we're rewriting what it means to be human." Armitage's gaze swept the room, searching for dissent or doubt. There was none. The decision had already been made in the hearts of everyone present. Humanity would not surrender to fear, not to the Leviathans, and not to the Silent Accord's manipulations. The operation began with the launch of humanity's last remaining fleet, reinforced with repurposed Leviathan components. These hybrid ships, crude yet effective, served as both offense and defense. The Council's fragmented remnants, now aware of the Silent Accord's betrayal, reluctantly joined humanity's cause. Though distrust lingered, the shared threat of annihilation forged a fragile alliance. As the fleets converged on the Leviathan stronghold, a colossal artificial nebula where the Silent Accord had retreated, the true scale of the threat became clear. The Leviathans swarmed like a living storm, their massive forms twisting in the void, each one a deadly amalgamation of organic and mechanical ingenuity. Even with the combined fleets, the odds were daunting. While the battle raged in space, Kai and her team worked from a command station on Earth. The evolutionary key was activated once more, this time tethered to a massive quantum relay designed to amplify its reach across the galaxy. Every human mind became a node in the network, connected through neural links that transcended the physical. It was humanity's collective will, concentrated into a singular force. As the key's signal spread, the Leviathans began to falter. Their movements grew erratic, their attacks less precise. Kai, her consciousness fully immersed in the network, guided the signal like a conductor directing an orchestra. She felt the pulse of humanity, its fears, its hopes, its unyielding determination, surging through her. But the Leviathans were not mindless. They resisted, their neural network adapting to counter the intrusion. The strain on Kai was immense, her body trembling as she fought to maintain control. Around her, the command station flickered with warnings of system overloads. The neural links connecting billions of humans began to fray, risking catastrophic failure. In the midst of the chaos, a transmission came through from Vance aboard the flagship Resolute Dawn. His voice, steady despite the cacophony of battle, cut through the noise. "Serena, you're not alone in this. Let us help. Let humanity help." Kai hesitated. She had carried the burden of the key alone, believing it was her responsibility. But Vance's words reminded her that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in individuals, it was in unity. With a deep breath, she opened the neural network fully, allowing every connected mind to share the load. What followed was a moment unlike any other in human history. Across the galaxy, every human experienced the same vision, a tapestry of memories, emotions, and ideas woven together into a single, cohesive consciousness. It was as if humanity had transcended its individuality, becoming something greater while still retaining its core essence. Through this unity, the Leviathan's resistance collapsed. The collective human will overwhelm their network, severing their connections and rendering them inert. One by one, the monstrous constructs fell silent, drifting lifelessly in the void. The battle was over. Back on Earth, the command station erupted in cheers, but Kai was silent. She had seen something in the network, something beyond comprehension. As she disconnected from the key, her voice trembled. "The architects, they're not gone. They're waiting." Her words sent a chill through the room, but there was no time to dwell on their implications. Humanity had survived, and for now, that was enough. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council was irrevocably changed. The Silent Accord was exposed, its members captured or exiled. Humanity, once the target of galactic scorn, emerged as a leader, not through conquest but through its resilience and ingenuity. President Armitage addressed the galaxy in a broadcast that would be remembered for generations. "We fought not for dominance but for freedom, not just for ourselves, but for all who value it. Today, we stand together, not as conquerors, but as survivors. Let this be the beginning of a new era, one defined not by fear, but by hope." As the transmission ended, Vance stood beside Armitage, gazing out at Earth's recovering cities. "We've won the war," he said, his tone thoughtful. "But the battle for what will become is just beginning." Kai, now a shadow of her former self but still resolute, added quietly, "Humanity isn't finished evolving. The architects saw that in us. The question now is whether we'll rise to meet their expectations, or defy them entirely." And so, humanity stepped into a new chapter, its path uncertain but its spirit unbroken. The galaxy watched with a mix of awe and trepidation, knowing that whatever came next, humanity would face it as it always had, together.